Welcome to Software Leaders Uncensored with Steve Taplin. Welcome to Software Leaders Uncensored, where tech leaders drop the filters and just tell it like it is. I'm your host, Steve Taplin, a serial technology entrepreneur, a guy who's launched 30 companies, failed at 20 of those, but scaled 10 of those to success. And I turned that roller coaster of a ride into my book, which is called Fail Hard, Win Big. And this is where I teach people how to turn failure into your biggest competitive advantage and how custom software played a defining role in every win. Now I'm the CEO of Sonatify Technology. We are a software engineering firm with resources throughout Latin America and the US. We help scale existing engineering teams with our talent. And today we are joined by Bill Rokos, who is the CTO of Parsec Automation. And Bill has quite a unique story in that he has spent his entire career with the company. And excited to learn more. Bill, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Steve.
Your entire career at your company. Tell our listeners the journey of your career and how you got in the door and worked your way up to the top tech spot.
Sure, no problem. So yeah, about 30 years ago, I was finishing school for computer science, and I actually worked at a scuba dive shop chain, and I was actually building the point of sale system for them for programming. And decided I needed.
So you did Patty and all their systems? I'm scuba certified.
I'm a dive master. Well, I used to be a dive master, and still do that quite a bit.
Very cool.
All 9 yards. But yeah, built the point of sale system there, and as I was getting close to the end of school, I need to go get a real tech job. Kind of looked around, found the job here at Parsec. Back then, Parsec was a small system integrator just doing custom software for manufacturers. And right about after the time that I started, we as a company started toying with the idea of creating a product, which is a really, really hard thing to do just out of nowhere organically. And it's a long story. Happy to go into more details, but one thing led to another, and we ended up partnering with another large software company, and then shortly after went on our own. And throughout all the years, just kind of stuck around and sort of worked my way up the chain until I was kind of running things. So for the last probably 25 years here, I've been leading I'm the CTO, but primarily the software development group that makes our product TrakSYS that we sell and integrate here at Parsec.
So what was the company so good at keeping you? It's hard to keep good tech talent. It's hard to keep tech talent from jumping around. That's often how, good, bad, or indifferent and I'll call it our generation as we're similar ages, that you almost had to jump around to increase your role and your compensation. How did Parsec do such a good job of keeping you happy, providing the opportunities and the right environment?
Well, I mean, certainly, I felt like things were constantly moving and growing. So over these years, we haven't really stagnated in one place for too long as a company. So we were transforming what we did. We were, creating new systems, and there was always something new going on. Obviously, I put myself in a position to take advantage of some of those opportunities. And, I have to give credit to the ownership here, identifying something of value and making it lucrative for me, certainly helped. But I think it's a combination. I think it's a combination of some circumstances, and some of it's the person. I'm very passionate about what I do, but I also don't think that it's all about, like work. I make my, family life and my outside life, very, very happy. And so doesn't really matter what I'm doing. So I might as well just, get comfortable and be successful at one place.
Well, I'll tell you what, Bill, in my book, I specifically talk about people who seem like they're successful, that they've gained a lot of wealth, but they have no family life. They have no other things besides work. And to me, that's not the definition of success. You need to have it all: a great career, a great family, a great passions outside of just your career. And so I'm in agreement with you there.
Awesome. Yeah.
Tell us more about Parsec Automation. I know you have your TrakSYS manufacturing operations management platform. Tell us more.
Yeah, so essentially, if you think about software that runs big companies, you typically hear about ERP softwares. Almost all large companies have some kind of ERP that runs the books, the HR, the financials, all of that inventory. In manufacturing, there's another layer below that. It's called the MES or MOM. This is the type of software that essentially runs the manufacturing process. It's very hard to define. It's a whole sort of genre of platform softwares, and that's what TrakSYS is. So we go in with our software, essentially connect to equipment and many other systems, including upstream to ERP. And we collect a lot of information automatically. We facilitate all the things that go on the plant floor. So there's a lot of paper-based things that get translated into on-screen things now with digital transformation. And really, like anything in and around the factory floor that's technology that's facilitating going through the process of staging and manufacturing and doing quality checks and keeping track of all the steps and tasks and things. That's what an MES software does, and that's what TrakSYS is. So we make the software. We have a small integration team that goes around the world, our largest customers, and implements it, their long implementation projects. And we have a partner network that also implements our software in addition to other softwares.
And so your TrakSYS software has been around since 1999. How has it evolved over the years? That has to be quite the evolution, especially in the last 24, 36 months.
Yeah, so as with all technology, there's always these waves of changes. So, the technologies that we built it in when we first started was Visual Basic. We've gone through 2 or 3 major generations where we had to take a major step and move to a new platform into .NET. Recently, into .NET Core, and then as you're, alluding to, cloud we're kind of on the tail end of the cloud revolution, and then now AI. So it's really, aside from the functionality that we're constantly evolving and creating more depth on, it's keeping up with the big changes. Like I said, the big platform or paradigm shifts that we've seen gone through, and we have kind of a unique challenge in our industry, and what we do, in that it's really a little bit of a different beast than some of the newer software applications that you see that are cloud first, and that this software is installed in manufacturing plants that are running oftentimes 24/7, and they're very, very adverse to changes, risks. This is basically running the factory, and at a very real-time clip in many cases. I mean, we're doing, sub-second interactions with equipment. So it's a little difficult to just sweep it up into the cloud. Can talk about what we're doing there later, but yeah, that is a challenge in our particular industry.
Gotcha. Well, tell us about some current projects you're working on.
Sure. So for the most part, TrakSYS is it sounds like a bad word, an on-prem installed software for some of the reasons that I just went through and talked about. However, there's a big push for companies to at least take advantage of some capabilities that are being delivered where they don't have to host things, where they don't have to have the infrastructure. So one of the big things we're working on is a sort of a layer of our offering called TrakSYS Cloud, which is taking the things that we can extract out of the sort of the on-prem installations and bringing them up into kind of a cloud layer, a true multi-tenant cloud layer that is really an adjunct, or works in concert with the on-prem stuff. So we're going to be releasing TrakSYS Cloud at the end of this year, and then the other sort of a big thing in the room is AI. Everyone's working on everything AI, and we are in a position that we actually capture and contain a huge amount of data that makes AI really useful. So we're in a really sort of, I would say, privileged place where you've got a lot of companies making AI that is essentially consuming data something else is generating. We're actually generating the data. We have all the data, and it's not trivial to create, the meaningful data that you can hand to AI to, converse with or make predictions with. So we're in a really, really cool spot. And so we're trying to figure out and add in the right pieces here for unlocking AI. So like everyone else, we'll be releasing this year some of our first AI features.
So Give me a comparison of the manufacturing industry versus some others as far as AI adoption and how that's been going.
Yeah, so I think the big thing is again that data. The AI adoption in manufacturing is, hey, I want to do stuff with this data that I'm collecting. Typically, it's making predictions or getting insights out of it, but it's sort of privileged information that they're very nervous about exposing. And so a lot of the platforms that have been coming out over the last few years, they're moving so fast. What's under the hood is that, like, oh, you have to just like expose all this data into these platforms, and manufacturing is a little nervous about that. This is really critical and important data that we're talking about here for them. So coming up with ways of being able to attack it with AI tools without just like pumping it all outside of their walls. That's where the, I think, unique challenges are.
Gotcha. Well, tell us about the genius software engineering team behind your TrakSYS software and what you guys are doing and how you manage it and the work models you guys do.
Yeah, so it's a shockingly small team for what we've accomplished over the years. It's all here in our headquarters in Southern California. I work very closely with the team constantly. I would say it's we obviously have your traditional sort of agile, work item tracking and so forth, that sprints and so forth, any software development. But I think maybe the unique spin, or more rare spin here, is that we work together very interactively, and we're constantly tweaking and changing things throughout the development process. I think it's a little bit of from the way I like to do things, and not just like create a big plan way ahead of time and just run through and execute tasks. So it can make some of the team members a little uncomfortable sometimes to not have exact marching orders, but we work it out. I think it's a lot of interactions, a lot more interaction than assigning tasks and track.
Now, are you guys 5 days in the office in person?
So the company's policy is hybrid, 3 days of the employee's choice in the office, and up to 2 days hybrid, just because of the way the team has been constructed and still is. Everyone is pretty local here. And I would say the dev team probably averages 4 to 4.5 days a week in office. So it's just the way we work. We're probably the team that's in the office the most. And again, I think that's a little bit of personality, and probably, again, they may not like it, but it's the way I like to do things. It's like, hands-on, in person. We talk a lot. We make changes very rapidly. And it just helps to not have to be remote to do that, in my opinion.
Gotcha. Well, and each industry is different. And I know for our listeners who are audio only can't see the background, but I don't if that's the office or your factory floor or manufacturing floor behind you.
That's the office. That's the putting green right there.
Okay, very nice.
I'm an avid golfer.
Well, you got to release and some tension and do something fun to get the creative juices flowing. So I'm with you. So as a tech leader, we're in Q4 2025. What are the biggest challenges you're facing right now?
Yeah. So I would say this, the pace of change in these, I mentioned some of these generational platform changes as we had to go through, as everyone does, as new sort of paradigms come out. But the pace is accelerating so much because the tools are getting better. You've got AI assisting people to create things newer or create things faster. And I would say the biggest challenge is that the tools that we use are changing so fast, and the platforms, that you can almost not even finish projects using them before they start becoming obsolete. And that's new. You used to at least have a runway of a few years to get some ROI out of the time it takes to replatform something or adopt a new technology. But I don't know how close you followed the AI stuff, but the techniques that are being used are literally changing every I'd say 3 to 6 months, which is way faster than it takes a company to build something.
Right.
So when you're trying to build tooling. And again, going back for us, manufacturing, they want to be high tech and they want to have the latest and greatest, but the reality is they don't like to change as fast as in other industries, because it really, that change management is very risky for them. When you're basically printing your money every day, you're printing whatever you're making, that's basically them printing money that's what they do. And so anything that can affect that is a risk. So that's probably I would say my biggest challenge, and probably a lot of people's biggest challenge is, um, if you want to make something and actually get some use out of it for a while, it's getting more difficult to do that.
As a tech leader in the manufacturing industry, using your words is slower to adopt based on concerns of the money making machine or getting a glitch. Is it harder to justify? There's so much hype about AI. Is it hard to justify to non-technical stakeholders, whether it's other executives or board members or investors, to truly educate them what's hype versus reality?
You want me to answer that in terms of the stakeholders here at Parsec, or the customers that are looking for it?
You know what? Hit both because that's definitely relevant.
Yeah, I mean, definitely here internally, I won't say not educated, but the business leaders are just seeing, hey, we have to have AI. We have to have some kind of AI presence, and so they're pushing for it very hard. And there's definitely a little bit more hype than actual usefulness. It's very useful, don't get me wrong, but the hype's far out there in front. So it's challenging here. Fortunately, the CEO here, I work very closely with them. We share a lot of the same philosophies on this, and so there's not a big struggle there. In terms of the customers, yeah, again, they are all feeling like if they're not jumping into this, that they're missing out, and so there is a big push there. Are fortunate that while from one side they're pushing, the other side they're also very conservative and don't move that fast. So those two kind of equalize out a little bit.
So
And
you have to deal
yeah,
with different personalities within the same people.
oh, for sure. I mean, uh, that's for sure. People will literally say both of those things at the same time. We really, really need this right now, but don't break anything.
So tell me your opinions of, what does technology innovation in manufacturing look like? How does it look like today and how do you see it'll look over the next 5 and 10 years?
Yeah. So, I think the best way I can answer that is that I'm just trying to formulate my answer here because this is a good one. There's a lot of software that has become sort of best of breed. It's like, this is how you do fill in the blank, right? Like, this is how you do HR. This is how you do, finance. And those are things that have been worked out over the years, and are very sort of definable. And when someone buys and implements software like that, they can kind of shape their business around the way the software works. In manufacturing, you have to shape the software around the manufacturing process because these customers have built a physical process that is actually why they're successful in many cases, right? Like their supply chain, their unique machines, or their way of making whatever they make oftentimes sets them apart. So we really have to shape our software around those processes. And so the type of software that we make, our philosophy or our approach is that we want to bring a lot to the table, sort of quote out of the box, but it needs to be flexible. It needs to be able to still work around because those things that the customers do physically are probably not changeable. I mean, anything's changeable, but realistically, they're not going to put new equipment in or uproot the whole way they manufacture something just because they want to buy, some out of the box software. So striking the right balance between, bringing value with your software and then having it be flexible and extensible enough to shape around those, that's a unique challenge. And one of those things that makes it difficult for us to create, multi-tenant SaaS type applications that we can just plug in everywhere and everyone can use.
Is there a specific niche of manufacturing? And this is coming from a guy who is not a manufacturing industry expert. Is
Yeah.
there a specific niche of manufacturing that your software is typically used with?
Yeah, I mean, there is. We focus on sort of like food and beverage, consumer goods, and pharma. Probably I would say what those things have in common is that they make large volumes of the same things. So that's where, investing in software and a lot of technology where you're going to be making something for a long period of time and be able to get that optimization out of it and justify the expense of putting a system like this in. Our customers, we have customers in every industry, but I'd say those are the main ones, and there's a lot in those industries, So, but I mean, it's so amazing being this in this position. I've gotten to see how things are made, all over different industries all over the world, and it's amazing. I mean, if you just look around, everything that you see is manufactured somewhere. It's a massive thing that's like kind of behind the scenes. People don't really think about it a lot as they walk through a grocery store or a Home Depot, or I mean, look around your office. Everything that you can lay your eyes on has been manufactured somewhere pretty much.
There's a push to bring more manufacturing back to the US. So what does that mean for your industry? Does that mean that new manufacturing facilities being built can be done in a manner that advances the capabilities that could be done between software, AI, the physical equipment, and the factory floor itself?
Yeah, I mean, everyone that's building new factories is looking to, make them as, we'll say, efficient and automated as possible, right? Like, and it doesn't really matter where it is in the world. Is everyone's after efficiency, everyone's after automation. As far as the political climate or manufacturing coming back to the U.S., I would answer it this way. Being in this position for so long, seeing things for 30 years, no matter what happens in the world, no matter what the economy is, and no matter what events transpire like COVID or even conflicts, the thing about manufacturing is that there's always going to be some manufacturing that takes a hit, and then there's going to always be some that because of whatever the situation is, goes crazy and is extremely successful. Knock on wood, fortunately, we have, as we've seen some crazy things happen in the world, there's so much, like I said, there's so much manufacturing in the world that there's always a part of the segment of the industry that's doing well. It's almost, it's almost bulletproof if you can service the entire landscape, which we can. Our software is pretty generic.
Gotcha. So Bill, as an industry veteran here in the manufacturing and software space, what are some brutal lessons that you know now that you wish you would have learned earlier in your career?
So I think, thinking about this for me personally, and probably for a lot of people, I think it's delegation. People get into tech and engineering type fields to do things like they're doers. They want to actually get their hands into it. And I still struggle with this. I mean, it's not like I cracked this, but it's taken me a long time to learn how to delegate and manage. I wish I would have been able to learn earlier and faster. And like I said, I still struggle with it because I enjoy the building and the art of doing things and figuring things out myself. But you can really become much more effective and impactful if you can enable other people, numbers of other people, to also be successful. So, your question is phrased as I wish I learned earlier. I don't know if I've completely learned it yet, but I wish I would have learned it, and mastered it a lot earlier.
Well, hey, we're never done learning, at least not the great ones. We're never done. Bill, thank you for sharing your insights on the industry, on your company. I'm still amazed and in awe of the fact that you've had the privilege of growing to a technology leadership position with a single company throughout your career. No doubt that makes you one of the foremost software manufacturing experts out there. Excited to see what you continue to build and what continues to evolve. Before we wrap, Bill, what's some no BS advice you have for today's tech leaders out there who are trying to build, scale, or even just survive in these interesting times?
I would say don't look at, if you can figure out a way to not make work feel like work and something that you have to do, but something that you want to do, then you're going to excel. Now, how to do that? That's different for every person. But if you mind thinking about things on the weekends or, while you're, out, not at every minute, right? Like with your family, obviously you have to disconnect sometimes, but I think, getting your mind in that position where you look at the borders between work and home as impenetrable, and it's just your life. It's just what you do. Um,
Well, it's hard to be great at something if you don't love what you do. And I'm a big believer that all of us there, our ability to solve more challenges than everyone else is what differentiates your net worth and the money you make and based on your ability to solve challenges. So if you don't love what you do, I'm with you, man. That makes it really hard to enjoy it.
for sure.
Bill, thank you so much. That's it for this episode of Software Leaders Uncensored. I'm Steve Taplin. If you enjoyed the show, go ahead and hit subscribe. If you didn't enjoy it, well, we'll just share it with your competitors. Might be the edge they're looking for. Remember to fail hard, win big, and always build what matters. See you next time. That's a wrap. Another great episode of Software Leaders Uncensored. Thank you guys so much for listening. I really appreciate it. It's a lot of fun doing this show. I love talking with great tech leaders. As a side note, if you're interested, check out my new book, Fail Hard, Win Big. This is the story of how I built 30 companies, failed on 20, and turned 10 into multi-million-dollar wins. The common thread with all of them was custom software. Also, if you need software development help out there, my company, Sonatify Technology, we deliver world-class software development engineers out of Latin America. We have a solid track record of helping companies launch better products and faster. Thanks again for listening. Appreciate it and appreciate you.